And this will all make sense in the end.
This is not an easy job. I have to take everything and play it as it lays. Sometimes people need a little help. Sometimes people need to be forgiven. And that is a very tricky thing on my part, making that call. But you can forgive someone, well, that's the tough part. What can we forgive?
Hello, I'm Thomas Carruthers.
David Whiting.
And today is our third Paul Thomas Anderson episode.
Moving right along.
Moving right along. And this is Magnolia, which currently resides, let me have a look on my rankings. This currently resides at number 13 on the
13? Well, didn't quite manage to break the top 10.
No, it didn't. And I don't know if that's too high.
Really? What beats it out for the 12th and 11th place?
I think we're now going to watch a live movie.
A live movie.
And I think I'm going to bump Rushmore, Crimes and Misdemeanors, Planes, Trains and Automobiles, Misery and Goodfellas up and put Magnolia now currently at 18.
Wow.
That was a live movie.
So we watched Magnolia and it decreased in your stead. Or decreased.
I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it's because I'm watching. You know what it is? I think it's when you're watching it with somebody, there is the penchant, there is the motive, there is the feeling. Let's laugh at this.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
No, I'm interested in it. Like there is this feeling of like, yeah, let's laugh at it. Whereas if you're on your own or you're in the movie theater, and I've only ever been on my own.
Right.
Well, that's a bleak thing to say, but the
that's the saddest email I've ever received.
yeah. And I think when you're on your own, you just sort of get sucked in. And all the cynicism, I mean, obviously this is not the relationship many people have with this film, but all of the cynicism disappears and you just go, yeah.
You know, I for all the joking around and everything, I certainly was swept up in it. You know, there are things that are worth poking fun at, but I think, yeah, I think anytime you're watching a movie alone and you have time to just kind of sit in it, I think the thing for people to do when they're together is to try to dissipate tension.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of tension to be had in this movie.
I'm going to put a rule into effect, David.
Oh, I'm not allowed to make any more jokes while we watch the movie?
No, we can make plenty of jokes. We're not allowed to say the F word for a good 50 minutes or whatever.
In the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh.
But not fuck, because this is a movie with 190 fucks. We can't say frog for 50 minutes. We're going to talk about this movie without saying the word frog. We're not going to even talk about the final 20 minutes until later.
Very fair.
Because the first time I ever watched this movie, I can remember it very clearly. It was on a Sunday day, and I was sat, and I put it on. I believe I'd watched Boogie Nights, and I was like, oh my God, this has all the same people, and it's the same director. And oh my God, and it's another like big sprawling thing. And I watched it, and for the first 2 hours 30, I was like, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life. This is incredible. This is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And then something happened which we're not allowed to talk about yet. And I was like, Why the fuck would you do that? What the hell did you just do?
Well, I thought that was kind of the whole point of the movie, though, wasn't it?
Well, yes, over the years. But this is the thing. Is this Stockholm Syndrome? Do I love the first 80% of this movie to such 100% degree that no matter what the final 20 minutes is, I would lie and justify to myself whatever it would be? Because we were watching it, the second 10 minutes, like I always say it's the opening 10 minutes, it's not, because the opening 10 minutes is the 3 coincidental stories. But the introduction to our characters may very well be one of my favorite 10 minutes ever put on film.
I would say it's an incredible sequence. You're introduced to so many characters so quickly. This world is established very fast, and you get a very clear image of each story. You know, it doesn't get muddled or confused at any point.
And it has such this relentless pace, this relentless kineticism.
Really drives you through.
Underscored entirely by Amy Mann's cover of One, which is just an absolute knockout cover.
Oh God, there's such a good transition there from the 3 coincidental stories and the bum 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 bum.
It's absolutely remarkable filmmaking, and it's one of my most watched videos. Just that Magnolia characters introduction, and I watch it all the time. And am I just lying? We'll get there later. But am I just lying to myself that the ending works? Because I think there is a huge faction of people who think it completely doesn't. My old life teacher, or whatever, the hour of like PSHE or whatever that class was called, was like, it was one of the only times I heard him swear. He was just like, well, he didn't swear because he was a teacher, but he was like, he was just like, I just kept screaming, why the F are you doing these frogs? Why the F are there frogs?
Well, to be fair, I think it's justified. I think the movie earns it. But we can get to that when we get to that.
We'll get to that. Yes, we are not allowed to mention frogs. What did you know of Magnolia? You mentioned this the other day.
Yes,
You'd seen the first 20 minutes for a class.
Getting basically up to Phil and Edgar having their first discussion. And that was about it. So basically right up to Philip Seymour Hoffman and Edgar talking about
Earl,
Edgar. Ugh. Yes, Phil and Earl talking about how much it sucks to be dying.
Yeah, just a terrible life. How terrible life is. Right, let's talk about this. I was quite worried heading into Magnolia because you did enjoy Boogie Nights for the most. No, enjoy is not the word, though, is it?
I did. I enjoyed Boogie Nights, but yes, it is. It's for some reason the tragedy in this. There's a lot of really overwhelming tragedy and deep, sad things going on here. I don't know why it didn't hit me in the same way that Boogie Nights did. Maybe it was less seedy and maybe closer to home in a way. Yeah, there was many different shades of it going on, and although each story was sad, you kind of are sitting in the misery of one story, and then you switch to another story, and the build starts to happen again. So there were moments where everyone was at their lowest point, and lots of sad things were happening, and you're switching from scene to scene to scene, seeing everyone in misery. But that would happen, and then we would come back to basically each story is ramping up again to the next major beat. So I guess you're carried through more often, and you're constantly switching from character to character. So you're never quite sitting in just abject misery for too long. You're constantly switching story.
It's not unlike the tolling bells, let's call it that, the tolling bells sequence from Boogie Nights of the experiment, the gay bashing, and the diner with Don Cheadle, except it's that for 3 hours.
Yeah, I guess, and the tragedy and the miserable stuff that was happening in Boogie Nights, there's much more of a sense of foreboding and building. We were kind of talking about how it's similar to like the classical tragedies, where you see the tragedy coming for the entire movie, and then it finally hits, and we're in like a downward spiral, I guess, and it's all very melodramatic and big. Whereas this felt very real and human kind of tragedy, I guess.
Whereas a lot of people disagree with you, David. A lot of people say that Magnolia's biggest flaw is that it's too melodramatic, is that it is too. I agree with you. I think it earns it. I think there's a big point of contention around Julianne Moore's performance. Lots of people just think it's outrageously over the top. And post, like, removing yourself from the movie and just watching those scenes, which I do often, it is quite camp and it's very enjoyable. And I do a great impression of it. But when you watch it in the context of the film,
yeah,
I didn't think she's overacting at all. I think it's a lot about the arc of the movie. Same with Tom Cruise. If you just watch that Oscar clip, maybe him screaming, "You fucking asshole," and he's grabbing his hand, you might think that's typical Cruise overreacting. But in the arc, after 3 hours, you're like, come on.
And I think the nature of this movie required large performances because we are moving so quickly through so many different stories and there's so many different beats that are all happening at the same time that we need to very clearly get what's happening every time we're watching something take place. So I guess in every scene, we need to be very clear who these characters are, what their relationship is, what's happening. So I guess, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Paul called for that in a way. You know, because there's very strong physicalities in all of the performers, very different ways of like moving through the world and approaching situations, and you have to get a sense very quickly of what's happening in each scene. So I think, yeah, it called for I didn't feel like it was overacting. It just called for a very
intense emotion. And of course, in the case of Claudia's character and Linda's character, intense drug use also fueling this, which
Jesus, Claudia's coked out of her mind for most of the movie, and shit. If this movie's taking place over the course of a day, she does cocaine probably about 2 or 3 times every single time we see her. Over the course of a 24-hour period, that's going to affect your behavior. Absolutely. And I thought the way that you feel constantly uneasy when she's on screen, or at least I did, just every time she was talking, I felt anxious and bound up and wired because she was. And I think that was, that's what we needed to get. We needed to get that frenetic, out of control energy from her so that it can be contrasted with the sort of sad, semi-competence of John C. Reilly. We could see that relationship.
I don't know how to break this film down. I also don't know why it's so high in my top 20 of all time. I don't know what it is. I think it's a relentless feeling. It's not a comfort like Boogie Nights. I know. There is no. I mean, obviously, this does have the so now then the final stuff, but
plenty of on the nose meta stuff.
Plenty of that. Yeah. There's lots in What's the Change that we can discuss. There is plenty.
Well, you go first there.
Let's start with 10-minute stretch. Let's attempt 10-minute stretches, which is very difficult here. But because of the way the film is structured, again, typical, just like Boogie Nights, I have a lot more best single minutes than I do 10-minute stretches. But
there's a lot of really good single minutes.
Let's have an attempt at 10-minute stretches.
Yeah, the opening sequences, both of them, the coincidence stories and our introduction to the characters are fantastic. I do really like that first encounter with John C. Reilly in the woman's home.
Yes, with the coffee and the opera,
I think it does a really good job of showing kind of who this person is. Oh gosh, there was another portion Earl's narration about regret.
Oh my God,
as that plays over basically every single person's lowest moment, essentially.
Let's break these down before we get there. Let's touch on, was this film a success? 37 million budget, 48.5 million box office. So
it didn't blow everybody away, but it made its money back at least.
it made its money back, but then also you've got promotional costs, which are not usually a pleasure. Let's talk about 1999 as a year for the movies. Arguably one of the best movie years in movie cinema, in American cinema specifically. These are the movies that came out in 1999, David. The Sixth Sense, Magnolia, Eyes Wide Shut, American Beauty, Man on the Moon, Girl Interrupted, The Insider, Fight Club, Talented Mr. Ripley, Being John Malkovich, Cruel Intentions. What else we got? Analyze This, Deep Blue Sea, The Matrix, Election. This is
what a stacked year. Oh my God.
And let's talk about the Oscars. So obviously American Beauty sweeps. Now, I like American Beauty a fair bit. For my sins, I am a Spacey fan. And if I didn't have a moral center, he probably would be in my top 5 actors.
That's because I've never seen American Beauty, so I wouldn't know whether it swept or not.
Yeah. And watching American, and also a thing about American Beauty, Annette Bening's too good in it for me not to watch American Beauty. She's too funny. She's too excellent.
I'm a big fan of Baby Driver. I can't criticize anybody for enjoying a movie with Kevin Spacey in it. So.
Yeah. Best director, Sam Mendes, American Beauty. Best actor, Spacey. Best actress, Hilary Swank for Boys Don't Cry. Best supporting actor, Michael Caine. David, one person from Magnolia got an acting nomination. Who was it?
Who was it playing Earl?
No, I would have gone for him as well. Like a big, like everybody loves
final send off.
It was Cruise, who is undeniably excellent in this film.
Yeah, I was gonna say he does nail that character. Fantastic.
And then Michael Caine wins for The Cider House Rules. David, have you ever heard of The Cider House Rules?
Is this the college sex comedy? No.
The Cider House Rules.
I Animal House is what I was thinking.
Oh, right. Very different movies. Michael Caine gives secret abortions to Charlize Theron and Paul Rudd in the 50s, and Tobey Maguire's a kid.
Paul Rudd has been fucking everywhere.
Oh yeah. A perfectly, absolutely fine movie that I just don't understand. It's because it's also not like we were giving Michael Caine an Oscar for like You've Never Won an Oscar, because he won an Oscar for Woody Allen's Hannah and Her Sisters. So to me, it's baffling that he didn't win.
It was a tough year for Magnolia, I suppose, going up against so many excellent movies. And I guess it does suffer from its own success, in that there's so many brilliant standout performances in this that they end up all blending together in a way, I guess.
Well, this is like who was the standout for you? I know mine, but who was the standout for you?
I mean, Tom Cruise sticks in your head, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think
John C. Reilly and Tom Cruise, my two.
I don't think it can be underestimated, really. Tom Cruise's mission, pardon the pun, in the late 90s. Like, this is Tom Cruise's. For me, there's just a dividing line between the movies he's making. Like, 83, he works with Francis Ford Coppola, Ridley Scott, Martin Scorsese, Barry Levinson, Oliver Stone, Rob Reiner, Sidney Pollack, Rob Reiner again, Tony Scott, Brian De Palma, Stanley Kubrick,
Jesus,
and then Paul Thomas Anderson. For me, it just feels like
he's a good performer. I think people sell him short,
I love Cruise. But this is the thing. For me, following Magnolia, it just feels like he gave up trying to win an Oscar. I think there was a very clear decision that he wanted to win an Oscar. And I think after Rain Man, he just gets completely snubbed. after Born on the 4th of July, he doesn't win. After Jerry Maguire, Eyes Wide Shut, and Magnolia, he doesn't win. I just think, like, there's not been really an Oscar movie, an Oscar possibility for him after that point. I think he gave up.
It's such a political game too. It's, you know, there's so much more that goes into getting an Oscar than just being really good at acting. It's so much campaigning and promoting and being an Oscar darling, and it's a lot of extra work, I imagine, that goes into being an Oscar contender. And I can't really blame any actor who says, yeah, fuck that, I think I'm just gonna make action movies and make a shit ton of money.
But for me, it's that thing of, he's so great.
He is, but hey, I can't blame the guy for not wanting to do all the extra work that goes into having to what you need to do to get an Oscar.
And it's not that I don't love the Mission Impossible movies. We did all 6 last year and blah blah blah. But like, I don't know what he did. I just want him to make another weird movie. Magnolia's weird. Eyes Wide Shut is really weird.
The industry in general has trended away from these kind of weird, interesting, original type movies. I think I know. The movie. It's not necessarily that Tom Cruise has moved away from that kind of acting alone. It's that the industry has moved away from making that kind of movie.
Yeah, sad. You're making me cry.
Sad.
Right, George and Martha said. Are there any other, before we go back to 10 Minute Stretch, are there any more broad strokes with Magnolia that you want to talk about?
I mean, it's an interesting one. Whenever somebody asks me, what is it about? So, it's a tough movie to sort of sum up. But I think the reason it's probably so high on your list, the reason I think that a lot of people hold it in such high regard is it's a massively crafted bit of cinema. It shows off what movies can do in a lot of ways, and it does it really, really well. And it's a very complicated thing to do, and I think he nails it.
I don't know if this is a question that you'll be able to answer without us talking about what we're not allowed to talk about. But does it actually work? Or is this just the big mess that people sometimes make it out to be?
Watching it today, I felt that it worked. The thing we're not allowed to talk about was shocking and jarring, but that was the whole point. I felt like the whole idea was that these insane, incredibly wacky, seemingly impossible, unbelievable things do happen. Now here's a story about all of these people and how all of their lives co-aligned at this really weird, freaky moment in history, and it's going to seem impossible and like it couldn't happen, but these things do, sort of thing. That was the whole premise of the movie, I felt.
Yeah.
So,
it had to be something. It had to be something out of this world, rather than just they all happened upon a plane.
They all run into each other on the street, or they all happen to meet each other at the same time. It had to be some sort of massive event, totally outside the scope of like normal everyday to-day life, that happened to affect all of them at the same time in some way, I guess. Like,
it's very, very, very much in the line of a Robert Altman movie, which it was somebody who Anderson idolized, who most filmmakers idolize, as a matter of fact. But I think the key line to draw is Shortcuts, which is another huge 3-hour film set in LA. All these different stories. In that case, it's not necessarily an original work. They're all based off Raymond Carver short stories. But the thing that draws all them together is just this huge earthquake that happens in LA. And there's a big difference between an earthquake that happens all the time and something genuinely out of this world. And it just turns a lot of people off. I genuinely do not recommend this movie to many people, because I just know full well that 70% of people will just go, what the fuck? Why? What?
It's a movie that asks a lot of its viewer, I guess.
Yes, most certainly.
You're going to throw on to casually watch and turn your brain off, I guess, for a couple hours.
It's emotionally taxing. It's mentally and physically taxing with its runtime. Because this isn't like, you know, a David Lean epic where you can set aside a Sunday and it's like really, it's long, but it's all these sweeping vistas and it's a romance and it's beautiful and it's the grand Russian, you know, this palace. This is just dirty San Fernando Valley, depressed addicts and fucked up people.
It's asking a lot of very important questions about life. I mean, it's really sticking the viewer with some really thorny questions that I think people don't really like to think about very often, because you know, it's asking, you know, all kinds of questions about how we go through the world and what it all means, and whether it's better to be honest or to tell white lies, you know, what things we regret in death, like all kinds of things, you know. It's
also for rewatchability, it's a dirty trick, because how many times I've seen this movie so many times. I know that Jimmy Gator is most definitely a pedophile. Do I feel for him for the first 2.5 hours of this movie every single time I watch it? Not because I forget, and not because his cancer and his illness not justifies it, but relieves him of the horrible things he's committed, because it's an excellently acted, written and directed. It's this incredible trick that it pulls every time, and I don't know how it does it. Maybe it's because it's not necessarily direct. I mean, it's pretty direct, but
I mean, I'd say that seems to be Paul Thomas Anderson's skill, is making you feel for characters that otherwise, at first glance, if he just told you who he was, you might not feel that sympathetic towards him. Similar with like Sydney, or you know, Hard Eight.
Yeah.
If you're told flat out at the beginning of the movie who Sydney is and what he's done and why he's doing these things for John C. Reilly, he's not a sympathetic character. You know, he's a guilt-ridden mafioso who murdered a man and is trying to make up for it by taking care of his son. You know, I think his skill seems to be in making you feel for otherwise unsympathetic characters.
Again,
really
a literal one-to-one example is the Colonel, the pedophile who, for the first hour and a half of the movie, is honest, a hilarious character.
My heart twinged for him just a little bit in that final scene, seeing him beaten and sobbing alone in a prison with no friends. Even I.
Shut up, Colonel. I love that he calls him the Colonel. How the hell did this come out in prison that his nickname's the Colonel? Anyway, that's Boogie Nights. He just goes back to reading. It's just
favorite 10-minute stretches of Magnolia.
Yeah, let's go a bit more specific. So the coincidence opening. Again, it's telling us from the off that there's going to be this huge thing that links them together.
Yes.
But it's not really a coincidence. I know we're not talking about the ending yet, but it's not really this huge coincidence where, I don't know, it's this huge, I don't know, a huge car accident where they all just so happen to crash at the same time. That's a coincidence. The fact that frogs rained down and they were all in LA on that day isn't a coincidence.
Yeah, but I would say the coincidence is that it's perfect timing for all of their stories, right?
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Every single one of them has this biblical event that occurs at some crucial moment for every single one of them. You know, Frank gets home to his dying father for the first time that he's seen him in decades, we assume, and is there for the last gasps of his father, who wakes up just as it starts raining the F word from the sky. You know, it's like, it couldn't be more perfect, right? It's sort of like, it's what a weird fucking moment to have that happen, essentially.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about how it happens to all of them and that ties all their stories together, but it does happen at a massively crucial moment.
So let's talk about the coincidences themselves. Greenberry Hill. And you go, oh, this is quite interesting. This is interesting. And then like Pat Healy, who's the actor who plays the person getting stabbed, he then reappears as the pharmacist later. just one of those little mirroring things. I don't know. Again, what's the purpose? Who knows? But it's this. It adds a mystery to it. It feels almost Kubrickian, but not as smart.
I think sometimes it's worth putting. I don't necessarily feel that every mystery in a movie needs to have an answer necessarily.
Of course not. No.
I think sometimes like directors put stuff into their movies just so that there's something for you to kind of mull over when you go back and rewatch Magnolia for the 5th time and you realize, oh, that's the same actor. Oh, I wonder. It's just to give you something to chew on, isn't it?
I think the biggest one is obviously all the 8 twos, which is something that you'll notice, David, on a rewatch. Of course, Exodus 8-2, you will follow my rulings, blah, 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 or else you'll be smited with frogs. There are 8 twos all over the film. 82% chance of rain. You need a 2. That's an 8. The 82 on the plane. The weirdest one for me is when Sydney's about to jump off the building, and the hoses are wrapped up like an 8 and a 2, and it looks stupid.
Yeah, I noticed. I always wondered. I wasn't sure if that was intentional or not when I was looking at that.
82. That one always makes me laugh. But
what the significance of that is? Yeah,
it's Exodus 8:2. That's the frog verse in the Bible.
Yeah, but I guess why is that?
Oh.
Why is that significant to each of their stories? You will do as I instructed, or else you shall be smited with frogs, or something along that line.
I think it's. Let me get the. Let's
look it up. Be good biblical scholars here.
Welcome to Bible Corner. I've got it here. No.
But if you refuse to let them go, let's see. If you refuse to let them go, I will send a plague of frogs on your whole country.
Okay, so it's nothing about their actual stories at all.
Well, I suppose you could argue possibly that each of them needs to let something go.
Yes, but you're taking it a bit far now. I love this movie. I love that. I find it very weird that you're in the defending position. I enjoy this a lot.
I mean, the movie was literally being. I think I said it several times. Like, oh, you've got something on your nose there, Paul. Because the whole line from Philip Seymour Hoffman, "This is the part of the movie."
Yeah.
Where, so there were several sort of like meta breaking moments that were really on the nose, and I mean, the rain of frogs started to happen as Frank literally was refusing to let go of his emotions, his feelings, his tears, his father. It happened while, oh gosh, who's the boy genius that was cheated out of his
Quiz Kid Donnie Smith.
Quiz Kid Donnie Smith, Quiz Kid Donnie Smith, can't let go of his need to be loved, and that's just they all need to let go of something. I guess.
No, I know.
Very
very on the nose. Yeah, the coincidences, but again, it has to be. There's no that's super realistic. Super realistic frog ending doesn't work.
The whole premise of the movie is this is going to sound ridiculous, but it could happen, sort of thing.
The coincidences, yeah. So then the Sidney Barringer. What was your favorite coincidence, David?
Oh God. Between in the opening
in the opening stretch.
The whole
film. No. That would be very cruel of me to throw on you at this just random moment.
No. I do love the story with Patton Oswalt getting dropped out of the plane.
Delmer Darien.
Mostly because that was the only one I knew of when it was being read out, or when I watched this the first time.
Yeah, that's one of those old urban legends, isn't it? That would not be ideal. I like that one. I also like Sidney Barringer. Just the whole conceit of that, with randomly Miriam Margolyes, famed British stage actress, and all that sort of thing.
Just in there, just waving a shotgun around for all of 30 seconds. Great.
Okay, I guess. Then the meeting everybody 10-minute stretch, we talked about that. Our first 10-minute stretch with Frank is an extended one, and I think that can't really be a flash. We need to really spend some time with Frank before we
need to see what Frank is all about and how he is constantly, so that when we see the mask slip, it's really jarring.
Good old Guinevere.
Yeah.
The one shot through the back of the quiz set, when we first arrived at the quiz set and it started raining, and that's a lovely, beautiful long shot with Felicity Huffman guiding the way. And Felicity Huffman, very good in this, of course, the famous wife of William H. Macy and Desperate Housewives alum. She obviously wasn't on Desperate Housewives yet. They were both big mammoths people in those early days. I enjoyed that a lot. Stanley / Frank / Linda breakdowns. There's a period where those breakdowns intersect. That's with the John Bryan's wonderful music, where Stanley piss your pants and Frank and of course Linda in the pharmacy, which we'll talk about later. Then it maybe my second favorite. This is another thing where it's like, does this work? Not the first half. The first half definitely works. Jason Robards talking about regret, and he keeps changing tenses. She was ill. I'm ill. She was ill. She is ill, and keeps changing tenses. And it's this absolutely harrowing piece of writing and performance. Obviously, Jason Robards dies within the year of cancer himself. Obviously, Jason Robards had a very storied and troubled life himself in the world of romance. It is one of the most powerful, evocative, haunting, affecting, emotional pieces of filmmaking ever made. Adjective. Brilliant. What's the Lady Gaga? Brilliant, talented.
Oh yes, no, it is.
Yeah, did that fart pick up? It was a fart. Did it pick up on the camera?
Did. That was, that's recorded for all of time.
You know what I love is that we were just talking about the final moment of Jason Robards' career, and I just let out a huge fart.
Do that.
This is a man who won 2 back-to-back supporting actor Oscars for All the President's Men and Julia, and I'm talking about regret. And
yeah.
This is my own low moment. A frog would suddenly rip through the window right now.
Yes, I think it absolutely did work. Yeah, I thought it was all those things.
But that leads into a moment which I do think works, but again, a lot of people think is cringeworthy and stupid, which is them all singing "Wise Up."
I don't know. I thought the whole it felt like another one of those sort of magical coincidences that's supposed to be happening in this movie, I guess. Yeah. So I was, I felt coming into this, you just kind of suspend your disbelief a little bit, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
That's the kind of thing it is.
And also the song fucking rules. The Amy Mann song is so good and so perfect, and everybody's performances is so great. Yeah, it is one of those things where, of course, it works. These are the greatest actors of that time. Yeah, it's going to get pulled off. Tom's Oscar, I've put here, getting, what should have been his Oscar. Just the absolutely brilliant. I mean, I think we all knew he had this in him, but there is something so visceral. Visceral is a great word to describe this entire movie.
Yes. Yeah.
But the power of Tom Cruise in this final moment, I'm not going to cry, and I'm not going to help him. I'm not going to help him. You need to be there. Yeah, I'm not going to help him at all. It's relentlessly, and again, this is Paul Thomas Anderson channeling, his own father's death. Obviously, a better relationship than Earl and Frank, but
we're watching Frank break down. Yeah. We're watching a man whose entire life is about keeping control of himself now. He lost his mom, learned at an early age he can't rely on people. His entire life has been about it's about being able to control everything. And we watch him desperately try to do the only thing he knows how to do as his father dies, which is he tries to will something different into existence, basically, essentially. And,
culminating in Don't you die, you fucking asshole. Don't you fucking go, you fucking asshole.
It's the first time in the movie that Tom Cruise admits that, or his character admits that he doesn't have control over something, essentially, where he gives up to the fact that he can't change this or fuck it or make it go away or change it somehow. He can't control this.
It's powerful stuff. And then my other 10-minute stretch we can't talk about yet. Although we have talked about it. I don't know what else we're going to say.
Right. We already have.
I'm throwing out my rule.
The end of the movie is that frogs rain down out of the sky.
Yeah, the frogs work. I think we've come down on this decision, like a frog. Other things might not work, but we'll go at those bit by bit. But then also, we're just going to say the same thing of, you have to take this movie. You have to meet this movie on its terms.
I think it's a movie that asks a lot of its audience, and that's part of what it asks is,
yeah,
you have to believe that all of these weird things could happen on the same day for all of these people, sort of thing.
Yeah, Tom's weirdly specific favorite parts of the film. Matt and Pat and Oswald just fist bumping that guy. It's always stuck out with me. Glad you like my work. That's an 8. That's an 8. Always stuck with me. The Magnolia painting, that they're in every scene, but like a zoom into the blood on the Magnolia painting. Come on, again.
Great stuff.
The sound effects. Yeah, it's something on your nose. The sound of a football crowd whistling and cheering and all that sort of thing, with the yellow drawing of Sydney falling into the thing in the net and the whee. It's just those it's reminds me a lot of Wolf of Wall Street, of this maximalist filmmaking where every single frame is intense, every single sound is intense. We are just specifically in that first 20 minutes, then it slows down. But that first 20 minutes, we are bombarded with images and music and montage and editing and characters.
All intentional, and it's all got something to communicate, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the mark of a director who's very much mastered his craft, but also very much has a particular vision, and I guess very much like in a Kubrick way. But yeah, I think it's an incredibly hard thing to do, which is why almost no one makes a film that way, I guess.
Not anyone is allowed to make a movie this way. I think you're phrasing all of this very wrong. I think the problem is, literally, that sounded cruel, but I think the problem is that this isn't an option anymore. There is not the option for somebody to make that huge third movie.
Well, and because it's risky, I guess. You know, it's not a short bet. And if you have someone who's really good and does it well, you can have an incredible piece of cinema that might not sell for shit in a mainstream movie theater, I guess. Or you'll have some garbled mess that's full of decisions that a director with way too much power got to make, essentially. No one to be a check on their decision making.
He's either go absolutely incredibly or absolutely disastrously. For every apocalypse now,
you see everything that's wrong with that particular director, essentially. Yeah.
And 1877 Tame Her is great. Again, quite on the nose. The audio introduction of Jimmy Gator. He's a family man, and he's just fucking that woman from behind in his office. And that's another thing where we see that. That's one of the first things we see of him, and we kind of forget that.
We kind of forget that we literally saw him cheating on his wife at one point. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's not entirely relevant to the pedophilia because she's obviously not a child, but it's like, this is a thing that we found very early on. I love him. I love Quiz Kid Donnie Smith crashing into a car. Crashing into the 7-Eleven. And
it's not telegraphed at all, because the music's upbeat. He looks completely calm as he drives in, and you fully expect that he's just going to park and we're going to see a shot of him getting out of his car. Instead, he just goes right through that window.
And then the guy running up, it's Quiz Kid Danny Smith. There you go, that. Philip flipping open his sunglasses on arrival and then immediately cutting to Jason Robards. Where the fuck have you been, you motherfucker? Where the fuck have you been? Like, oh, this is this story then. Julianne Moore's slow-mo kiss on the forehead. We haven't talked about Julianne Moore as Linda Partridge enough, and I don't enjoy it. That we haven't, but we'll talk about it more. I love the interaction with Marcy and how she keeps saying things before he's even there. Don't go in my goddamn bedroom.
Don't go in. Don't you look in my closet.
Yeah, stay out of my motherfucking closet. He hasn't even looked in there. He hasn't
even gotten to your bedroom yet.
Phil Palmer, Philip Seymour Hoffman's Phil Palmer, taking the fake pen from Jason Robards. And it's these little moments of, oh, he's that far along. He is quite literally delusional with his drugs and his cancer. Very effective stuff. The heavy breath on the mic as Frank T.J. Mackey respects the cock, like after the second time. And it's just like, oh, God. No mic control.
The movie has managed to make me feel so out of breath constantly. Between Frank and Claudia, I felt like, Jesus Christ, am I breathing enough?
Yeah. I love the poster, No Pussy Has 9 Lives. Just a brilliant piece of set direction there. Guinevere, who knows from off, I'm going to completely ruin this man by the end of today. You missed a button. Great stuff. Brad with his braces, the reveal of that, and you go, oh no. I love Henry Gibson at the bar. Ooh, that sounds threatening. And the way he talks in this rubber-dub-dub and this, you talk in riddles and rubber-dub. Again, that link of the Altman world. Obviously, Henry Gibson was in Nashville, arguably Altman's best movie, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, you felt that his character in the bar felt very otherworldly in a way. Like it felt like he was dropped in from somewhere completely different, which worked. I was almost expecting him to like turn out to be an angel or some shit that wasn't actually there.
I think that movie. I think we would have gone a step too far if we had angels.
That would have been just a little bit. Yeah, we would have lost the thread that they were going for. But yeah, no, he just felt sort of like out of a different time and place in a way, and it worked.
It works, yeah. Tossing the coffee away at the end of the Carmen sequence, just he can't even pretend to drink the rest of the coffee. It's so bad. Lovely little moment. Stanley looking at Jimmy head in his hands and then putting on his best face as the ad break ends. Just a lovely little moment of like the private and public faces we have, especially as in the game show world, well, the celebrity world,
the world of celebrity and television, and
picky favorite Henry Gibson line. Going right, what's TJ Mackey doing with his farewell to Guinevere? Is he going in for a kiss? Is he going in to spit on her? What is he doing? Obviously he's fueled by this relentless anger. What is he doing there? I mean, obviously she immediately pushes him away and, like, get the fuck away from me. But is he going to kiss her on the forehead? That's the way I've kind of seen it.
I don't know if he was going to kiss her on the forehead. It sort of felt like he was attempting to intimidate her in some way.
Yeah, it feels violent. Yeah. It
was very much like it was a slip of the mask because she got him. She fucking nailed him in a way that no one has in probably his entire life. And I don't know, his only response that he can have is outright aggression, and he shut down, didn't talk for the rest of the interview, because I think he's just livid with rage and realizes that anything he says or does, she can see through. So, I mean, he's left with nothing but to just intimidate her, because that's all he has is size and strength on her, essentially, because she can out talk him, basically, and he's not used to it.
The framed big check in Donnie's apartment. It still has the check. The excellent frogs.
They're really well made prop frogs, yeah.
Really made prop frogs and wonderful CGI and practical effects.
Very, very good. Oh God, they're so visceral.
Yeah.
Absolutely gut-wrenching watching those things fall
I
out.
think that would also seriously affect the movie, because if those were like just the world's worst reign of CGI frogs, I think people would have had there would be a lot. I think we would be having a different conversation now of the frogs fucking suck.
And the thing was, the frogs didn't feel like a magical moment, right? It wasn't like this, oh gosh, and now it's raining frogs, which is a sign. It felt like, holy fucking shit. It's frogs raining. It was it was shocking and like just like gut wrenching to see, which I guess helped keep it grounded for me. If it had just been like, if we hadn't felt the effect, like the weight of those things hitting the ground and seeing the blood spatter and like, I don't know, that grounded it very much in like, this is something that's happening and it's like traumatic and affecting people.
No, I agree with you tremendously. I've always enjoyed the frogs in this. I've got the visceral realness of them. I've always enjoyed. Specifically going into the pool and the firing through the umbrella and smashing the table. Very visceral, very, very good. Which leads me on to, oh, there are frogs falling from the sky.
Single best line of the movie.
Yeah.
Just the way we stayed on Hoffman's face for a full 30 seconds and watched the realization kind of dawn on him, and then, oh God, just perfectly delivered.
The flipped ambulance shot with the stationary camera and the ambulance flipping, just that glorious shot. And then harsh cut to black again. So now then. This is another, what did you prefer? Yeah, what did you prefer? So now then, or one last thing, long way down?
I'd say so now then, because it was a really nice way to wrap up that whole sequence. Because I think at the end of that sequence, where do you go, right? I think that the frogs needed that acknowledgement of like, so that was weird, right? Anyways, so
and then the dog on his own gurney. They're my weirdly specific favorite parts. David, do you have any weirdly specific favorite parts of the movie?
No, I think that goes right through. Oh, Philip Seymour Hoffman ordering 3 different nudie mags. Can I get some peanut butter and a carton of cigarettes and some white bread? And do you have Playboy?
I also greatly enjoyed the call worker going, do you still want the milk and the peanut butter? Because as if
still
like,
want the groceries.
Most people are just like, yeah, I'll have all that milk, a couple of quarts of cigarettes, and I'll have an issue of Playboy magazines, the filthiest porn you've got, and all that sort of thing. I enjoy that.
I love Frank arriving at the at Earl's house and Phil's little interaction of I will drop kick those fucking dogs.
I will drop kick those fucking dogs. Great stuff.
What's her name here?
Where are we? Soundtrack corner. Okay, best use of a song and best song full stop. My nominees for best use of a song: Dreams by Gabrielle. Every single time in William H. Macy's car, the song Dreams is playing. Dreams can come true, and baby, I'm in love with you. Again, quite on the nose. I'm going to save the final nomination because I know it's the winner. Goodbye Stranger in the bar. I very much enjoy Supertramp, one of Diana's favorite bands and mine. Wise Up, I'd say, is our second place. Maybe you disagree with me.
No, I'd say, I think I know the one you're about to say, but yeah.
The one I'm about to say. Undeniably, the Amy Mann cover of One, fucking bop, as the kids would say. Better than the original. Sorry, Harry Nilsson. Fuck you, Harry Nilsson.
I know you're watching this.
Yeah, I know you've been dead for 30 years. Undeniable for me. It's definitely the Amy Mann cover of One. Best song full stop. I have here "Save Me" by Amy Mann, the ending song. Great song. "Momentum" by Amy Mann, which would have been a nominee for best use of a song, which is the loud song that's playing really loudly. But I'm going to give that a nomination for best use of a song in a trailer, because the trailer is excellent for this. That's a great trailer. Best song full stop for me is the Logical song by Supertramp. Once in my life. I love that song. It's a great song. What would be your nominations, David?
Really the only two that stuck out that I knew exactly, like I knew the song, and was, one is The Loneliest Number right there at the very beginning of the movie. I think it's just a perfect opener. It sets the tone very well.
Best single minute. Before I give you my nominations, do you have any immediate standouts?
For me it was the phone call for ordering the nudie mags. And Phil and Frank's first meeting, I think, are just two really good. I really was looking forward to seeing, because I feel like they were polar opposites in a way, Phil and Frank. So I'm just really looking forward to their meeting. Yeah.
Oh, I'm with you there. Get a girlfriend talk with Phil. The first talk with the fake pen, and get a girlfriend. And again, from the off, we're introduced to the world of regret and loneliness, and get a girlfriend. Your life isn't to be lived alone. And then Solomon, Alfred Molina's little cameo. Solomon and his assistant. You don't need braces, Donnie. You don't need braces. That's
great.
Very good film stuff. The kids rap. I'm going to tell you about the worm.
Rap is great. I thought that was fantastic. I want to know if Paul Thomas Anderson was the one who wrote the rap, or if he sat down with somebody.
I want to know. Yeah. Rose on the phone. I've always enjoyed Melinda Dillon in this as Rose. She's not actually in it that much, Rose Gator, but she, for the amount of time she is in it, she is absolutely excellent. And I love her on the phone. What are you doing? Drinking. Okay, but just come home after the show. Or when we see her in that sort of flash of everybody before the next hour and 40 minutes starts, and that flash of everybody, and her just wrapped up in a blanket on her chair watching the TV show, and she's just like, "Come on, please, come on, quickly, please." Very powerful stuff.
I did really like how each act you could essentially see the transition happen, where we would very quickly kind of cut to each character. Here's each situation. Are you with us? And here's the second act, sort of thing. It was really, really well done. I liked the way that we kind of transitioned throughout the movie.
No, I agree. Rose on the start of the interview, and I just wanted to ask you, it's not very safe in here, and I'm just like, and at that point, as a kid, I was like, oh no, he's good. This is all an act. I was thinking, you need to get out of here. This is all a show. I'm just a nice guy. And then that's not true. But then he's absolutely rolling around. He's got his shirt off. He's flipping around. He's doing cat flip. And again, we're on cloud nine with him. Nobody can bring me down. This is my world.
An illusion so quickly broken by one little question.
She is just sat there, dead still.
She does not move to him one bit.
You missed a button. Here we go. Linda at the pharmacy, the best moment in the entire film. You call me lady. You call me lady. Ask questions. Shame on you. Shame on both of you. You come here, ask questions, act serious. You say I look sick. You say I have sickness.
Things and you
suck my dick. Again, a very easy to make fun of scene that, in the context of the film, works wonderfully well and works great. And Julianne Moore's excellent in it. But let's keep making fun of her.
I thought she was fantastic. Frankly, she's
I love her.
She plays unhinged, guilt-ridden trophy wife really, really well. That we really get the sense of just how much all of this is tearing her up inside, which I think justifies the rest of her actions for the movie. We really needed that sense of just how undone by all of this she is.
No, it's absolutely excellent. Bonus musical question: the first signs of struggle for Jimmy, leaning into, and for a bonus point, you can sing it. And this kid knows the full French version of Carmen.
Yeah, and he was fantastic.
It was great. Yeah. At least it was a well-known piece of opera.
Well, yeah. If it had been some random obscure, thing, then it would have been a little bit harder. But I think I don't know. I would have believed that was on. He's a prodigy. He's a prodigy.
He's a prodigy. Jimmy telling Mary about the cancer. I haven't thrown up since I was 20 years old. What a great line. And the back and forth of, it's in my bones, it's metastasized. I'm fucked. and he just walks off. He kind of, and then we stay with this Mary woman who has been his assistant presumably for what, 40 years, and she's the one who takes him home as well. I love that little choice. And again, she must know absolutely nothing. I mean, we know with Rose, there's the possibility, or does she not know nothing? Does she know about the cheating? Nobody knows about the pedophilia. No, like quite literally, nobody knows about the pedophilia. Yeah. And I don't think he was a serial pedophile. I think he was a serial adulterer, and that bled into Claudia this is dark, but that led into Claudia being easy, Claudia being there. I also get the impression there's been a lot of drugs and alcohol in his life, and
amazing how much is conveyed so quickly. I mean, just from that little, just from brief moments on screen. I don't really know who ends up getting the most screen time in this movie, but they really don't get the story across with each scene, and yet they do it perfectly.
I think I'll save it for Tom's big question. The reveal about the truth about the family history to Frank, and where's your fucking question? And you're like, silently judging you. You're just gonna sit here and wait out your time? I gave you my time. Just great cruise shit.
I thought of one. You need to be nicer to me, Dad.
Yeah, good scene. Go to bed.
Really good. Just
go to bed.
You need to be nicer to me, Dad. Good.
Then I have this is another one where you can make a little bit of fun of Julianne Moore. I fucked other men, I sucked other men's cocks. Like, that is quite literally an impression. Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck. No. You must really shut the fuck up. You must really please shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. And that's what I've done with the previous and future guest Lauren Stevenson. Sucked a lot of cock. It's the way she goes, cock. I mean, it's just stuck in my head for so long, and then straight into Now you must please really shut the fuck up. No, you must please really shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. With another Robert Altman alum there, who I should have the name of, but I don't because I'm a bad podcaster. Rose and Jimmy, that final horrible scene. Did you get any glimpse of pedophilia before this point, or did you just think she was drugged up and he threw her out of the house and so she hates him because of that?
I assumed there was some sort of bad history, but no, I didn't get the sense that was what had happened till the very end, essentially, when he comes out and says it.
Is it a bit much? I don't think it is, but is it just like one? Is this, for me, this is the one scene where again it's brilliantly acted, insanely well acted, and insanely well written, and it justifies and recontextualizes the entire film, and specifically Claudia's character.
Yeah, we needed it for her.
Yeah, but is it just like now fucking pedophilia as well? Is it because this time and you know what it is, it's that I love Philip Baker Hall so much. I want him to be a good guy.
We don't want to see him playing a pedophile.
I love Jimmy Gator so much.
I get attached to like old man characters essentially in every movie that I watch. I always want them to be the good guy in some way. But no, I think the pedophilia was necessary to explain why Claudia's character was as unhinged as she was, I guess. Or at least what got her, maybe it wasn't what made her that unhinged. The cocaine for God knows how long probably did that. We needed something to show us, like, how did she get here, sort of thing,
Yeah. And then, how do you feel about Jimmy not getting like a morning after shot?
Like, the morning after the toads?
Yeah, like he doesn't get a so now then. He doesn't get a so now then, which I think.
I guess his story was wrapped up for us.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
We didn't really need anything else from him, whereas there were still hanging threads for the others. Like, we get what's going to happen to Jimmy. He's going to die alone. His wife has left him to go be with their daughter and repair that relationship, and he is going to end up dying alone, and that's the end of his story, basically.
But why? But why have the plug socket start smoking? That to me, it's again a very visceral and evocative shot and little piece of filmmaking and editing. That the frog knocking the gun, but then the gun hits the thing, and then why have a little fire? Why lead us on the ambiguity that okay, God didn't let him kill himself, but he is going to let the house burn down?
I guess in a way, it's this situation has been resolved, but he's still going to die. There's still that coming. I feel like every single like catastrophic thing that happened, there's a sense of consequences to everything that happens, right? There's weight to the frogs. We see, the boy genius's teeth get caved in.
Yeah, we fucking do. Oh my God.
I guess that the thing that makes all of these things really hit as hard as they do, and part of what makes this movie so visceral is, there's a sense of like, man, that really fucking happened and really did some damage. Like, it's not just the blank went off, blank gun went off, and a little fucking thing just kind of, or a squib they just had a little pop of fire. Yeah. Like we get a real sense like, damn, that almost happened to his head, sort of thing.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, no, I can see that. This is wonderful because it's like me after 10 years of being with this movie, coming to terms with things, and this is you an hour after this movie, and you're like me, David. You're like me, and who knows? In 10 years, maybe you'll feel differently, like me.
I'll hate it too.
I don't hate it. It's still one of my 20 favorite movies. I absolutely adore it. And I don't know why I'm being so down on it this time, because I do. I love it. I don't think I've expressed enough how much I love this movie.
I mean, it's like we said, it does require a lot of the viewer. And if you're not willing to kind of meet this movie where it's at, there's plenty of stuff to make fun of here, Yeah. But I think that's just because we're used to more cynical movies that are a little more on the nose and self-aware and that sort of thing. I think moved away from sincerity.
There's too much cynicism in movies nowadays, David. I've always felt it. It's satires don't work because the real world is insane.
It's so crazy. But we also decided that realism just meant that everything was gritty and miserable all the time. Life is many things, but universally awful is not one of them. So I don't know why we decided. I don't know why we decided that's what realism was, but it seems to be the way we've gone with things.
Best line: the fucking regret.
For me, it's there's frogs falling from the sky.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm quietly judging you. I know I did a stupid thing. Look, I really do have love to give. I just don't know where to put it. This is a true thing. I was 13 years old or whatever. Whenever I first watched this movie, I used to quote that all the time.
Cringe.
I know, David. Don't go away, you fucking asshole.
You couldn't have said it to a more perfect character, It's really the sentiment that John C. Reilly has had for the entire movie, essentially.
Yeah. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck do you think you are? You come in here, you don't know me, you don't know who I am, what my life is. You have the balls, the indecency to ask me a question about my life. Fuck you. Fuck it. Don't call me lady. I come in here, I give you these things to you. You check, you make your phone calls, look suspicious, ask questions. I'm sick. I have sickness all around me, and you fucking ask about my life. What's wrong?
You ever seen death in your bed?
Have you seen death in your bed in your house? Where's your fucking decency? And then I'm asked questions. What's wrong? You suck up my dick. That's what's wrong. And you fucking call me lady. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on both of you.
It wouldn't be a podcast without one of your performances.
I think people should go back to the Shawshank Redemption episode and just hear me just say those red monologues over and over again. Respect the cock. Specifically, you want to go back to the schoolyard, you got a big crush on Big Titty Mary Jane. I always just found that funny.
Great moment. Great moment was Tom Cruise coming back to his seminar after being taken apart.
Yeah.
And turn to page 18 in your blue books, and then he just turns around and flips the fucking table, and you can tell he's
straight back to it.
Yeah, he's completely, but you can tell internally he's completely undone, essentially.
You seem the sort of person who confuses the two. Oh, sorry, I'm sick and I'm in love. You seem the sort of person who confuses two. That's right. That's the first time you've been right. I confuse the two and I don't care. And then what else? I've got a couple more. The coroner said that the unsuccessful suicide had become a successful homicide. Later on, we're going to talk about how having a few chick friends lying around can be quite effective for setting jealousy traps.
Just, oh God, he's such a psychopath.
I love Solomon's assistant. Donnie, you got struck by lightning in Tahoe. I don't think braces are a good idea. The Battle of the Bush is being fought and won by Team Mackie. I have love all over. I even have love for you, dear friend. That's fine. That's cool. It's good to rock out sometimes. I enjoy that. And then a very specific one. Samuel Johnson never had his life shit on and his money taken away by his parents. Yes, he did.
Did he?
Yes. I think that's a wonderful little bit of dialogue where even the smartest kid in the room is blind sometimes to everybody else's pain. Ooh. Any other nominations, David, for best line? I think you've
You need to be nicer to me, Dad.
Oh, good line. Good line. What's the change? Okay. Here's a couple of things, and then we'll do big conversations. Frank T.J. Mackey's holidays, V-Day. Okay, sure. Crude makes sense. The day of lick my spoon. Okay, that I don't see where you're going anymore, Frank. Saint, suck my big fat sausage. Doesn't even say day. He doesn't even say Saint, suck my big fat sausage day. He just goes, Saint, suck my big fat sausage.
I think that was good. I thought it was a comment on just how empty this guy's life.
Oh no, it's brilliant. It's very good.
Like he says so much while saying nothing at all, essentially.
I also think that Tom Cruise is an exceptional casting here because Tom Cruise has this weird thing where he is a very handsome man and can be quite alluring and attractive at times, but also seems weirdly sexless. And also just feels like a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah, no,
famously, rather famously. I mean, as if I'm coming out with a hot take here. Yeah.
Do you know what? Tom Cruise is a little weird sometimes.
I was a hit at a party. This sounds like it's the 60s, and Edward Albee playing. But I was a hit at a party with some friends, and their boyfriends, and I never met the boyfriends before. And I was a hit at the party. And when I was leaving, and earlier on we were talking about Michael Jackson or something, I was like, yeah, Thriller's great. And then later on I was leaving, and they were like, and Smooth Criminal had come on, and he was like, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? And I said, I just Wikipedia this Michael Jackson guy. He seems pretty weird. And then I just left. And I was very proud of that joke. And I recently talked to that boyfriend's girlfriend. And I said, oh, yeah, the Michael Jackson thing. And she went, yeah, the Michael Jackson joke. And I love that my jokes are spreading far and wide, David.
They've stayed.
Yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman flicking through the channels and just that porn, just on a main channel. Like,
yeah, strange one. I was like, what kind of cable packages are
yeah. Well, cable pack, he owns. The thing is, we find out later that's where he got all of his money from, Big Earl Partridge Productions. I just hope that he has enough money and enough status in the TV world that he can say, I only want 5 channels. Mine, the porno channel, the CBS buy something channel, and that's it. I can't remember the other one.
And the news.
And the news. I want to know what's happening, who's fucking, what can I buy, and what I'm doing. How do you feel about the music playing sometimes over the score and like the songs playing, but also John Bryan's score continuing? Because I think sometimes it can be quite shrill.
I gotta be honest, didn't notice it once.
Maybe you will in 10 years. We'll do this.
If you hadn't pointed it out, I wouldn't have realized that it happened.
The pharmacy man's comments. What the fuck? I mean, I guess
that was all I could think. Yeah, I
I
think
guess
Julianne Moore was entirely justified.
I think he's trying to figure out, like, is this a drug addict? Are these real receipts?
Yeah.
Is this woman going to go home, die, and then I have to read about it in the morning, and I have to have that guilt for the rest of my life? But also,
he's asking it in the weirdest possible way.
And also, his final line before she snaps is, "You must have some really serious things wrong with you to use all this stuff." Are you for real?
Shut up, pharmacy bitch.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about this. What the fuck is What Do Kids Know? Let's talk about some of the rounds. The picnic game, where you have to know perfect pitch.
That was insane.
Well, I know this one because I have perfect pitch. That's ADE, which means lemonade. Just so many different stretches. The letter game, which kind of makes sense to me. The letter game makes sense. The opera question. You have to know full opera and be able to sing it and blah, blah, blah. They have a whole musical trio in the corner. The way it feels to me is that it's an entirely music-based game, but it's clearly not.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, he did ask the opera equivalent of basically saying, okay, name the Shakespeare play, to be or not to be. That is the question. He basically said, I think, probably one of the most famous lines of opera there is. But the kid fucking knew it
Sung
in
it
French.
in French.
Yeah.
Again, on the nose, quite, but it's fine. Scene of the movie, but this is that scene, that sort of dialogue. Thank God it's delivered by Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, he delivers it perfectly, I think. There's a sort of impishness to him where I think he can get away with stuff like that.
The segment of the seminar, how to fake like you are nice and caring. Bit on the nose for me. That's a bit much.
Oh, great.
I know that there is a distinct world where that is not too far from the truth, but it's a bit much for me. Sorry.
How to fake like you're a nice and caring person.
No CCTV. You pointed this out. There's no CCTV for Donnie to rob the place.
I'll rescind my comments on that. At first I was like, so you're telling me Donnie's not smart enough to like think about the fact that.
But Donnie would know. Donnie knows rather intricately.
Well, that's the thing. I guess Donnie would know that he was being recorded, or I guess the other leap of logic would be, since he was trusted with everything by the business owner, Donnie was smart enough to set it up so that he could break in and not get caught, I guess.
Yeah, true. But it did happen on the poster. Doesn't annoy me that much. What does annoy me is Stanley. This is something that happens.
This is something that happens.
I don't blame the kid. The kid delivers it as well as anybody could. But that line, I mean, this is something that happens. Just why have it there? You've already got you've just had the poster on the wall.
I guess it felt like we needed to come back to the kid's story so that we could see like, and how does this affect his life? But I felt like the line was maybe a little, just one more on the nose thing.
Yeah.
Maybe
This is the thing. The movie's 3 hours and 8 minutes. Have 30 seconds in one of those big long montages of Stanley's dad looking around. Stanley.
I think it was. I guess we could have seen more of his dad looking, because we come straight back to him being knocked out dead asleep at home, like nothing's.
And you can make the leap of logic of he's been up looking for him all night, but that's us doing the work.
But also, I guess there's the sense of this isn't a man who cares enough. He doesn't care about his son except as he functions to make him money.
True. Yeah. Oh no, definitely. And then also he either sleeps through an entire rain of frogs or doesn't go to look for his son in an entire rain of frogs.
I guess I looked at it as, oh, this guy just didn't even bother to look. Probably went home and went to bed. Like
that's even worse. That's horrible.
That's how I interpret it.
It's true. It's true. That's the horrible thing. The gun falling. Come on.
The gun falling out. Come on. If we can suspend that disbelief for all the rest. I guess I'm just wondering, how the fuck did it get up there? Because we saw the kid pick it up. So
Well, it's God. This is the thing. When people say like, yeah, well, actually, it happened in England in 1972. I go, oh yeah. When that gun fell from God. And again, this is one of my favorite movies. I don't know why I'm being so negative on it. Okay, let's talk about these two big things. The Claudia and the Jim romance subplot doesn't really work for me at all. And for me could have been quite an easy cut.
It does seem, and I remember when we were discussing it in class, it seemed to be the thing that bothered a lot of people, was sort of like, well, why does he become the good guy, I guess? Like,
I think a lot of people, and it's not, for me, I'm guessing a class full of, you know, hip young drama codes were like, fuck the cap, all that sort of bullshit. I mean, all that, also, specifically with the LAPD, that's a huge thing.
The sentiment I think that a lot of people felt was like John C. Reilly's character is constantly striving to be seen to be doing good, I guess.
Yeah.
He's not doing good. Like Philip Seymour Hoffman's character does good just to do good because he's a genuinely kind, altruistic person. Whereas John C. Reilly's character often seems to be like he's doing good because he wants to be praised for doing good, sort of thing. He wants to be seen to be good at what he's doing, and he wants the approval of someone, I guess. And it felt like, well, he's basically, there's no way, being an officer for as long as he's been, that he's completely oblivious to the fact that this woman is coked out of her mind. You know, her pupils are the size of her entire eyeball, and she is clearly like erratic. So what that tells me is John C. Reilly is so desperate for affection, attention, and approval that he is just willing to look past all of that stuff and take advantage of the fact that this person who is clearly not in control of themselves is willing to pay him the time of day, essentially.
Or it's the broken sparrow, what's it called? Broken wing thing?
The broken, so he wants to like take care of her. But I guess even then, so I don't know. He's doing it out of a complex. He's not doing it out of a genuine sense of caring.
I don't know what it is.
He wants to get to fix someone, you know.
I also think Melora Walters is very, very good in this and plays Claudia perfectly for what Claudia is.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think they're both fantastic characters.
I just don't know what it is. It just sort of feels like, okay, we need a romance in over the space of a day in this. I don't know what I don't know. It's just never. They've always been the scenes that I like least. They've always been not the most boring scenes because I don't think any of them are especially bad. And I don't actually think I do want them cut, but it's always been the scenes where I'm like, I wish I was with Frank. I wish I was elsewhere.
I liked their scenes, and I mean, partly because I just love John C. Reilly.
Yes, of course.
But yeah, I don't know. Seemed like a weird element, and like we're just kind of supposed to assume that this guy has the best intentions because he's a police officer, and we've seen that he's sympathetic, I guess.
I think it is just crippling loneliness devouring 10 people over the course of a day.
And they all reach out, and not necessarily in the best ways or to the best people. And I guess that's kind of the whole thing, is that it's not going to be the best people or the best possible scenario, but you're going to reach out anyways because you just need that connection somehow. So.
Does the ending suck?
No, that was fine. What were we going to do to end? At some point it had to end.
I don't know. I've never had this feeling before. Apart from this time, I was like, would a better ending have just been John C. Reilly in his car when he's done it, does his talking to himself again. He drives off. I think it's because the music starts there.
And you expect that's the end.
And I'm like, down, 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 down. And I'm like, cut to black maybe. Because I do think the smile at the camera does irk me a little bit.
It's the directly into camera thing, I guess, because there's been so much like meta, on the nose, self-aware stuff kind of sprinkled throughout. It's like you really had to do one more.
Well, let's talk about this now. The first clip I showed you once we finished, which is Paul Thomas Anderson with his then girlfriend, Fiona Apple. Just Fiona Apple is doing this like dance, like she's a dancing monkey. And he's talking to her as if she's Magnolia. And it's this incredible thing where he's clearly he's done a final cut or something like that. And he's acknowledging every single thing that's wrong with it. He is not blind to anything. He's a very knowing person. And he goes, you're not Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights made money. Boogie Nights made money. People like Sydney. And he's doing all this thing. You're just too. There's too many blowouts, too much music, and all this thing. It's too long. Nobody cares about you and your fucking frogs. You know, and another thing he says, you're working through all your shit on everybody's dime, because this was a very personal film for him, specifically with Earl dying, and it's this incredible portrait of a director just acknowledging every single fault that he knows people are gonna. I mean, and this is what comes to mind of nobody cares. What was that ending? She's smiling. Nobody cares if she's smiling. And I just think it's just this incredible piece of footage.
But I guess I think I liked the ending, and it was a little on the nose, like we said, but I want to say it's the first time we see Claudia smile for the entire movie. If I'm looking back and thinking about it.
Yes, genuinely. There's a lot of nervous coke smiling.
Yeah, it's the first genuine, sober, clear moment we see on Claudia's face, and we're really given the time to see it register.
Yeah,
that like this is a new chapter for her, possibly, right? And I don't know. I think that was a good way to end it. I think and now life goes on. Sort of.
She just needs to smile, not looking at the camera. She needs to smile, cut to black. Don't know why she's looking at the camera. Anyway, other notes. He wanted to shoot the game show first so that it could be in the background of all the scenes. However, Tom Cruise scheduling meant that they had to shoot the Tom Cruise stuff first. Blah blah blah. I enjoy that the top person at the studio at the Seduce office is a woman named Janet, who constantly undermines all the men. Good boy. I'm moving down the elevator, Janet. Good boy. Good boy.
But I thought it was great. That's a wonderful choice. It highlights just how empty these guys' philosophy is. It's bullshit. Everything Jax is spreading is bullshit. Because as soon as the public eye is off of them, they're all the whipping boy of this woman Janet, keeping their fucking ship running.
There was originally an idea where he wanted to have an entire ballet in the sky with the frogs to It's Not Easy Being Green. Is this the best edit of any director's career of the
Solid
entire
choice
past,
there, Paul.
of the past 100 years of filmmaking? Let me because they released the script, Magnolia script, deleted scenes. I remember, like, this was one of my favorite cigarettesandvines.com. I used to love this website as a kid. Deleted Magnolia, back to work, the worm subplot for Magnolia. Where is it? No, this is going to annoy me. But I used to love this as a kid. I used to be like, oh yeah, frog ballet. There's a lot more worm stuff. We understand the worm whole subplot a lot better.
I was going to say that was one that never really got wrapped up for me.
No.
I didn't quite understand what was going on with worm.
We want to help your son, Marcy. We want to help your son, and all that sort of thing. Really. Yeah, that is very effective. No, he's not. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say it was the opposite for me. I never really got what was going on there. Never quite clicked, I guess, exactly what the significance of worm was and all that. Just seems sort of like something that kind of got left unresolved in a way. Not that it needed to be. It could have just, it did provide a sense of, a wider world is going on and there's other stuff happening. But we never really found out who was shooting at John C. Reilly and all that stuff.
Here we go. So it was included. Yeah, here we go. Oh, the rain of frogs has begun, smashing to the ground. Blah 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 blah. Where is it? Here we go. Exterior, the sky. Camera up to the falling frogs. Camera is moving down with them. It becomes almost musical, like Busby Berkeley style choreography of frogs that fall in the sky. The music, Kermit the Frog. It's not easy being green, having to spend each day the color of leaves. And that's it. What the hell?
Yeah. No, I think it was best that we literally just get the first frog out of nowhere, and then it's just raining frogs.
Yeah, that's definitely.
We see nothing of them other than them hitting the ground, and that's it.
The Marcy subplot was going to end with her confessing to killing her husband. He hit my son and he hit my grandson and I hit him. I hit him with the ashtray and he was knocked out and I killed him. I strangled him. I strangled my husband to protect my boys. I protected my boys. So again, another subplot about abuse of children and protecting. And Rose in her own way, whether she knew what she knew, blah blah blah. She turned a complete blind eye. Marcy went to an absolute violent way to protect her children. Again, it would be another question of
bit of mirroring.
Justified violence. Is that justified violence? Of course it is. But that's a debate that some people like to have. But anyway,
yes.
Tom's big question. Oh no, a few fun facts. Let's do these next.
A few fun facts.
Claudia was the first character created, and the other characters were branched off of her. I can see that. She does work as a middle.
Yeah, she does kind of tie a lot of people together.
Somebody that Paul Thomas Anderson approached to play Earl Partridge, George C. Scott.
Huh.
Patton.
Yeah. That would have been an interesting choice. I don't know if it would have been a better one.
Yeah, Scott disagrees with you. Scott threw the script across the room saying, "This is the worst fucking thing I've ever read. The language is terrible." So that was George C. Scott's. At the time of release, Paul Thomas Anderson stated that he really felt that, this is the quote, that Magnolia is, for better or for worse, the best movie I'll ever make. I don't know if he still feels this way. I don't know.
It certainly has the most moving parts.
It's the biggest.
It's the biggest and requires the most, I haven't seen the others, but just the scale of this movie, the amount of stories that were going on, and the amount of information that needed to be communicated to the audience visually, audibly, everything requires a lot of a director. I think it requires all the best things that a director can do, I guess.
There Will Be Blood is very epic in scale and is also period, but I would definitely say that this is a bigger challenge. Paul Thomas Anderson wrote the bulk of the script during 2 weeks he spent at William H. Macy's Vermont cabin, afraid to go outside because he'd seen a snake. Paul Thomas Anderson made a visit to the set of Eyes Wide Shut to offer Cruise the role. John C. Reilly was tired of playing heavies, so he asked Paul Thomas Anderson to write him a part in which he falls in love with a girl. So it's John C. Reilly's fault. Again, very on the nose. Paul Thomas Anderson.
John C. Reilly was playing a lot of heavies, huh?
Yeah, he's one of the rapists and bullies in Casualties of War, the Brian De Palma Vietnam movie, which is very good, if I remember rightly.
When I think of John C. Reilly, I certainly don't think of him playing the heavy, but I guess I just haven't seen enough movies of his.
I guess heavy, maybe heavy specifically is a stretch. I don't know. Well, anyway. Paul Thomas Anderson, this is very on the nose. Paul Thomas Anderson's cameo in the movie is him taking from somebody in the game show audience a sign saying Exodus 8-2. Again, come on.
I guess he was telegraphing throughout the entire movie what he was planning on wrapping this up with.
Yeah, true. Cruise loved Boogie Nights so much, he asked Paul Thomas Anderson to consider him for a part in his next film. Cruise, while initially rather terrified at playing such a change in pace, relished the role. It was so completely different from the repressed character he played in Eyes Wide Shut. Paul Thomas Anderson screened the movie Network due to his production before filming began, citing basically that all of those different, that's another movie with a lot of different strands, and none of them are shot with a different filming style. They all feel like they've been shot the same way. Huh. Sort of bleeding them into one another.
It's kind of neat.
Paul Thomas Anderson also designed the poster and cut the trailers for the film. There was this huge thing about Tom Cruise only being small in the poster. That was a big debate he had to have. And he was like, no, this isn't a Tom Cruise movie. This is an ensemble movie. Yeah.
He really had quite a lot of control over every aspect of this.
Boogie Nights was a huge success. And I think people just wanted to be in the Paul Thomas Anderson business. Yeah. In one of the early versions of the script, Paul Thomas Anderson proposed making it clear to the audience that the events took place in a very small area, like 1 square mile or 10 square blocks. And basically every other scene there would be a title card saying 5 miles from here, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It was later decided that this would take too long to clarify and would confuse people.
Yeah, I was going to say they were already having to juggle so much information. I think anything more would have been the straw that came back.
I think it could have been something that could have been introduced maybe in the scenes immediately following the second 10-minute montage.
Yeah, I suppose so. But I mean,
not needed.
And then you're just not going to have the time to mention it for the rest of the movie, I guess. It would be, yeah, I don't know. There's just too much going on to be constantly referencing, like, oh, and also they're this close.
Yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman stated during the deathbed scene, everything after Frank's "I'm not going to cry for you" was improvised by Cruise. Cruise didn't feel the scripted lines worked, and Paul Thomas Anderson told Cruise to think of when his own father died and to let it move him. During the next take, Cruise broke down sobbing, resulting in the scene seen in the film. Hoffman stated Phil's reaction to Frank's sobbing was his own, since he didn't know Cruise would enter such a zone, and as he felt the purity of Cruise's emotions. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Again, loosely based on the experience of watching his own father die of cancer. Over 7,900 rubber frogs were made.
That poor props department.
Yeah.
You want 7,000 what?
Yeah. The rest were created by CGI. No real frogs were harmed during production. Again, the CGI looks really good and isn't noticeable. Thank God.
One of these days, I want a movie that just says 7,000 frogs were harmed during the making of this production. Yeah. A substantial donation has been made to...
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? All that happens is they don't put that thing at the end of the movie. They still release the movie with no problems. All it is just a little thing. Doesn't actually mean anything. Paul Thomas Anderson said, this sounds like bullshit. I've always thought this. Paul Thomas Anderson has said that he was unaware that the story of the frogs falling from the sky is in the Bible. And that he took it from Charles... No
way.
He took it from Charles Fort's writing when he wrote the screenplay. The Bible story of the Plague of Frogs. Well, no, here we go. So the Plague of the Frogs was brought to his attention by Henry Gibson prior to filming. After he became aware of the story, Anderson worked references to Exodus 8:2 into the movie.
No, it's planted. It's too planted that it couldn't have just been an afterthought. It's strung throughout the whole thing. I don't buy that for a second.
No, neither do I. Philip Baker Hall was rained on by frogs when he was vacationing in Italy. And tagline rundown, things fall down, people look up, and when it rains, it pours.
That's all over the place.
What the fuck is that? That seems like 4 different taglines. Why not when it rains, it pours?
Man, that would have been all you needed.
Why not this will all make sense in the end?
Wait, was that the only tagline they went?
That is the only tagline I have here.
Well, there's your one thing where maybe the director had a little too much control there.
Yeah, that would
have been a good. There's the change.
Yeah, maybe he was saying it to somebody and they were 4 different ones, and he was like, I don't know, something like things fall down, something like people look up, something when it rains it pours. We're lucky that we didn't get the in there. When did Linda? Tom's big questions. When did Linda become? When did Linda and Earl get together? How old was she? I know I could have figured it out, but I couldn't be bothered.
Well, how old was she? I guess she would have been.
She's in her 30s.
She's in her 30s in this. I'm guessing early 30s. So I'd say probably early 20s.
Yeah,
Maybe been together for a decade or so.
Yeah. I sucked
Like,
on the
enough time for Frank to be aware of her existence and everything.
Yeah. And for her to be aware of Frank. This is something I've noted. We understand Stanley's pain of wanting to go to the toilet because the film is so long that we inherently need a wee. I literally had this problem today, and I had the problem when I went to go see it at the cinema for the Philadelphia Film Festival. Like, quite literally, I needed a wee, and I was like, he's not done this on purpose, but it's ingenious.
But it almost could be.
Has Donnie always wanted to rob the store? Because obviously he has his own copies of all the keys that he has slowly and methodically copied throughout the years.
It seems so intentional, like so well thought out already, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to tell because, yeah, he does have a copy of every single key.
And this is really dark. Is Jimmy lying and just can't admit to himself what he's done? Or is his cancer so bad, and is he so old, and is he drinking so much that he literally doesn't remember anymore?
Doesn't matter either way.
It doesn't matter either way. But I love that's always been a thing in my head of, wait, what if he doesn't actually know? And like, this is a thing where he's like, I don't know. And that's why he kills himself, because he's like, was I ever that such an evil person? I cannot live with.
I don't know. I would go, I guess I'm gonna go with, when I was watching it, my feeling was he just can't admit to it, essentially. He can't bring himself to say, I molested my daughter, basically. So I guess that's what I went with. And yeah, and then he goes to kill himself because what else is left to do? He's dead in 2 months and he's got no one.
Yeah. What is the conversation? I mean, I know what the conversation is. Frank is coming to Linda to tell him that Earl's died. Is that the only conversation they have? They see each other at the funeral. Like, do they have a friendship? What is their relationship moving forward? Is there one at all?
It's hard to tell because you don't necessarily get the sense that Frank is going to change after this.
No, he's got a huge business.
He's got a massive business. He makes way too much money off. I don't really get the sense that Frank is going to suddenly go out and start repairing his relationships and dealing with his trauma and trying to become a more healthy, well-rounded person. I don't know. I wasn't even entirely sure why he was in the hospital in the first place. Like, what is he? Yeah, he's going there to tell her that he's died, but why does he care that she knows? I guess. One of those. It's a good one. It's one of those ones where it's a question that doesn't get answered, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's it all really. The whole thing builds up to this thing that we just have to accept because crazy things happen.
Crazy things happen, and all you can do is just keep living.
I think that's about it with Magnolia. David, any final thoughts on Magnolia?
Just keep living.
Should we do rankings as we go, or should we do a final ranking?
Yeah, let's save it for the end. That way I know exactly what I
was getting yourself into.
Yeah.
Well, that's that one, isn't it? No, thank you very much, David. Magnolia. I sucked on the match, guys. Dabba 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 da da ba 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 ba.